place. That's the relationship that is there. No, none at all. None at this stage, except when I have traveled, I've sent my communication as notification that I'm traveling. So that's as much communication as there is. The answer won't be particularly different from what I have said in the past. I was elected or voted into the office of the Vice President in 2014, and it's a contractual obligation with the people of this country, and it goes all the way up to May 2019. My intention then and now still remains that I will see that contract through. And because it's a contract with the people, the citizens, the people that voted in 2014, 1.9 million plus, that had the confidence in us to be here where we are, it would be serious betrayal to quit. I will be here and I will speak what I see to be good, and I also speak what I see to be not good, because that's what the people expect. First, it's correct to say that we are rated one of the poorest, and this is something that we must not clap hands for. It's something that we must, really feel sorry about. There is a multitude of reasons why the situation is as it is, but perhaps a few key reasons over the last few years is, they will range from our type of politics, the patronage that is there in the politics, and appeasement, abuse of office, etc. And the fact that we also sometimes as citizens, to some extent, not everybody, but those that are close to the powers that be, are complicit to some of the goings on. So that'll be the first part, the leadership. We can discuss this in great detail, but I think that's one of the reasons, the type of politics we practice, politics of the belly. The second thing is the leadership itself, that especially post the one-party era, and you see, leadership is not just one person. I'll address that in a bit, but leadership is a lot of people that are in leadership positions, and they too have contributed to the situation because they have abdicated on their responsibility. They have known what needed to be done, but they have done the opposite. So that there is an issue that questions the integrity in the leadership that we have. Beyond that, it's also some of the policies that have been put up to tackle issues of poverty. poor policies may not necessarily be the best policies to deal with poverty. And therefore, there is need for us to look at how we address poverty without necessarily just focusing on such policies. And then, of course, the fact that there is serious plunder of public resources that are meant to improve the quality of life, that are meant to or intended to fund developmental projects, etc. So that's also a big factor in that, some of the programs that should have been adequately financed by the resources we have, because of plunder, we have under-resourced programs that could have brought about a better livelihood, better quality of life for the citizens, and therefore begin to improve what is deemed as poverty. And beyond that, the economics itself, companies have folded up. We are not recruiting. Businesses are not, performing as well as they should, because obviously of some of the challenges we have highlighted before. So I think that, and do believe, not just think, because you could put a cocktail of reasons or excuses why certain things happen the way they do, which has led to the situation that we find ourselves in. But in my view, these will be tops in terms of contributors to our situation in this country. We really need to move away from the way we have done certain things if we are going to see an improvement. I mean, when people can't earn, obviously, that's a sign of poverty, and if they can't fend for themselves, that's the beginning of problems. So we have, like I said, there could be plenty, but these are major ones. And perhaps to sum it up, to say, it's almost as if it's poverty by choice. We sometimes want to say natural disasters, this is beyond our control. Most of it is within our control. We just don't do what we're supposed to be doing. In terms of what we intend to do, both as UTM and myself as a leader, or as part of the leadership, because it will be a team. So our manifesto is there. What are our aspirations? Because first is to say, what do we desire? What sort of country do we desire? We desire a country of equal opportunity. We desire a country where citizens are happy. We desire a country where everybody has got something to do. Everybody can, get busy and fend for themselves. So that's the aspirational statement, if you will. And then how do we get there is the next question. And the majority of what we intend to do, and I think there is a number of things we want to do. First is Malawi and Africa remain agro-based economies, whether we like it or not. And the emphasis now is to say we should look at agriculture not as agriculture, but perhaps as agribusiness. Because if you look at it as agriculture, it becomes a business as usual. There is no money, you can't do it. There is money, you do it. But when you look at it as agribusiness, it's not a question of whether there is money or not. It must be done. People will find solutions on how to improve through the entire value chain, all the way from production to value addition to the product being found on the shelf in the market. So there is a need for us to focus in that sector, agriculture, because first is let's be in a situation where we're able to feed ourselves. We can't be discussing maize and Nsima for the last 54 years. I mean, we have been in Nsima economy for long enough. We need to move on. We need to have a situation where everybody can eat decent 3 meals a day, as people are supposed to eat, not once a day, not twice a day, not once every 48 hours. People should eat every day and 3 times. We start from there because that's where, if we cannot feed ourselves or the citizens, I don't want to say our people, they are not mine and they are not anybody's, they are just fellow citizens. If citizens in a country cannot feed themselves, we really cannot do any meaningful developmental activities, because we will still be, investing and spending time around finding something to eat, some food to survive with. And therefore, our advocacy is let's deal with food security once and for all. And once everybody has enough to feed themselves with, we can now begin to talk about meaningful development, because there is no money that is going to waste in trying to provide free food. Food will no longer be a political item. Maize, fertilizer, the prices, the markets, they should no longer be political. We should have gone past that level. So that's the first area that we'll look at. And obviously, once you have looked at production and you look at value addition, we're talking about factories. That's job creation, and the value addition is in order for us to earn better as we export. So obviously, the production side and the selling side, which is the trade, they need to be very well synchronized, so that we produce what the market wants, be it in the local market or in an export market. Somebody should go out there and scout for opportunities for farmers as well as producers to take the produce too. So agriculture or agribusiness is one there. Tourism is another area. Construction is another area that needs to be looked at. That can create employment for people to be self-reliant, and they can fend for themselves. And then once we're able to generate and elements of tax and so on, once we're able to generate enough, both as a people, and because we're able to generate enough and we're able to trade, we pay enough taxes and so on, you have enough money to do improvements in the other sectors, the health sector, education sector, security, etc. So we need an economy where the citizens are self-reliant, independent, financially independent, but perhaps most importantly, citizens that are happy. How we achieve that state is what will set us apart from others. And I've just given, this is really scratching on the surface, because I'm not going to go into detail now. We may not have as much time, but this is what I'm saying. We need to look at sectors that will help bring that independence in the citizens, as well as help generate enough revenue to finance programs, whether they are social in nature or developmental in nature. Yeah, you see, that's why I started when we're talking about what has led us into this situation of poverty, and chief among the reasons was politics, the type of politics. It's politics of patronage and appeasement. And of course, you can add other elements in there, as you suggest. Nepotism is one of the evils we have to fight in this country, outside of corruption and abuse of office, etc. We know it's not a secret in this country. Everybody agrees, and there's nobody that I've heard that says there's no corruption. We all say there is corruption, and it must be dealt with. And we have said, okay, from the UTM perspective, the enabling law must be there, independence of the ACB, including from the recruitment, and also, amendment of certain sections in the Corrupt Practices Act, as well as the Constitution, Section 91, subsection 2, to remove immunity of the president, because when people are procuring or they are doing some of these things, they like to say these are orders from above. So maybe it's time that we removed the above, and people begin to be held accountable for decisions that they make on their own without necessarily passing the buck and blaming it on somebody else. It may be true, it may not be true, but we need to remove that there. And of course, finally, funding of the ACB, as well as lifestyle audit. How do people justify certain lifestyles against the salaries that they have? I mean, these are things that must be done. So that's on the corruption side. On the nepotism side, because now it's so entrenched, it's almost as if it's an expectation that if you get a president from a different place, then everybody that works with them must be their homeboys. So when somebody else does it, it's wrong. When you do it, it's right. I think we need to move to check our conscience and really walk the talk. If we speak against nepotism, let's behave that way. You find it in procurement, you find it in recruitment, you find it in promotions, you find it in so many ways in the public service, that people that perhaps don't deserve certain positions have them today because they are connected, and these are things that we must deal with. And how do you deal with them? It's to make sure that everybody follows what are laid down procedures. It's there. It's in black and white. People are supposed to be interviewed to become chief executives of parastate organizations. Is this happening today? The answer is no. People are handpicked, and this is illegal, as a matter of fact, because that's not what the law says. You're supposed to advertise. People compete, and the best must be, appointed, given a contract. Unless there is certain reservations, then people must be told why a person who was number 3 has all of a sudden been appointed a chief executive and not the one who was number 1. So these are things that we need to address, and it goes beyond. I mean, abuse of office. These are things that we're seeing today. If you do something, I mean, you slap a policeman and you belong to the ruling party, you probably walk away with it. If somebody in the opposition did the same thing, he just stepped on his toe by accident, you'll be locked up. And these are things that we need to begin to deal with, and deal with decisively, so that the future generations should know that to do this is not right, and to do this is right, and we should aim to achieve that. Right, 18 million Malawians, true, and you see, this has been a journey. 2014, I put myself up to, be considered for the position of vice president, and the people graciously did that with the confidence. I mentioned a figure of 1.9 million votes, 1.9 million plus that we got. Now, you look at 4 years later, 4.5 years later, whether we have accomplished fully what we had set out to accomplish, and the answer is no. corruption is worse, and some of the things that we had set out to deal with the public service, service delivery is not what we had committed. We had committed to have a civil service that was properly incentivized. You have a motivated civil service, the environment is good, and so on. Have we achieved that? The answer is no. We said we needed to have a civil service that is properly catered for in terms of accommodation, be it residential or offices. Have we achieved that? The answer is no. So, and I know that these things can be done using both local and international accessible financial resources. I have been there. Whatever lead or assignment I was given to do, and whatever programs I was given to champion, the proof is there for all to see that they were done with a degree of distinction, be it with disaster management, be it public service reforms, and whatever other assignments were given. They were done to a level of satisfaction if the feedback that I got was anything to go by. And that, coupled with prior experience working in the private sector at a very senior level, and successfully so, it does put one in a position where they are able to do better for the benefit of fellow citizens. Go to the office there, when you look at records, we have been audited. The records are there for all to see. That's what we want. If we say we want a leadership that is accountable to the people, there it is. Don't hide. These people are the ones that put us in these positions. They want to know how we are spending money. Let them go. I mean, there is an auditor general to go there and say, look, we think that this gentleman here was abusing state resources and they must be held to account. That's what we need. And all that, plus the experience and the know-how, and I am ready to, given the opportunity, I'll do my very best. And I can assure you some of the things that we say and people disagree with are very doable. 1 million jobs in this country in 1 year is still very doable, by the way. And getting people to have 3 meals a day, every day, is also doable in this country. And changing the fortunes of the people in this country, being the youth, or be it the youth, the women, the people with disabilities, is doable. I mean, I don't believe in saying things are impossible. It's not impossible. It is very possible. Today we are being watched on TV because somebody said it was going to happen. It's happening. Actually beyond that, because then you have, you don't have to wait to be delegated. You have to assign people, and you know what needs to be done. Crack the whip where it must be cracked. Get people to be accountable, and hire people on merit. If they don't perform, send them home. Bring others that are going to perform for the betterment of the country. First is, it is good to team up. It is really unfortunate that as small a country as we are, we get so many presidential candidates, including so many political parties. I must admit, one of the things that I still battle with is the fact that we registered a party, because I had said I would never do that. and because of the challenges we encountered, that was the most ideal thing to do. But we should not be having so many presidential candidates. I mean, it's like a joke. The US, as big as it is and as successful as it is, you hardly get more than 3 presidential candidates. If one was independent, you have Republicans and the Democrats. Go to the UK, you go to South Africa and other big economies, you have 1 or 2 or 3 at the most. The current count for the 2019 election, we are sitting on 13 and perhaps counting, which is really unfortunate, because either we don't fully understand what the job entails, or we're basically saying anybody can do it, or we are taking the citizens for granted. So coming back and more directly to your question, yes, I do believe an alliance is a good idea. A meaningful one is a very good idea, and it must be encouraged because of what I've just said. You can't have too many of them. I mean, only one, even if you had 50, only one person will become president of this republic. So splitting votes and wasting resources is not a good thing. We should be able to say, I think Jack makes a better president than myself, and I should support your cause. And obviously, if you let us down, I mean, there will be a day of reckoning. But for all of us to believe that all of us can win an election, I mean, it's being really, it's most unfortunate. We can only have one victor at the end of the day. Are we in serious talks with anybody? We are talking to colleagues, and should something come up worth sharing, we shall do so. Communication is the least of our problems. I think we communicate very well, and should there be reason to say we have gone into partnership with Party X, we shall say so, and the terms of the agreement will also be, shared to say it's on these terms, and we move forward and support 1 or 2 candidates, 1 being the president, 2 being a member of parliament in a particular constituency. So yeah, coalition or alliance, a very good idea, but it must be meaningful. There must be reason behind it. It's not just partnering for the sake of partnering. It must be to achieve victory in the elections that are coming. And yes, at an opportune time, should that materialize, then we shall come out and say we are partnering with Party X for the following reasons, and please support us. Well, let me address the previous ones. You see, you lose an election not on the voting day. You lose an election in the way you prepare for the election. And, we've had cases where some parties have gone into elections, even right now as we're campaigning. Others have already gone to Sanjika, even before you vote. And when they lose, they think that somebody has rigged the election. And then you go back and you do a postmortem, after the elections. You find that this particular political party didn't actually field candidates in certain constituencies and wards. Now, who do you think was going to be campaigning for you? The devil? So you need people to understand that if you're going to put up a gallant fight, be there. Be in the 193 constituencies, be in the 456 or 462 wards, and put up a gallant fight. It is not as, I laugh when people say rigged. It's not as simple as easy as people say that so and so has rigged. So it is not as simple as that. People go into elections with conceived outcomes, and when they get a different result, of course they cry for, because they have invested money. They had expectations that if I become this is what I'm going to have. I'm going to employ so and so, blah blah blah. And when you lose, obviously, you're not supposed to be happy. Is the 2019 election going to be free and fair? Indications this far point to that. However, there could be some worrying developments, elements of intimidation, and let's wait and see what else comes up. But this is how you end up with elections that are not free and fair. When you start threatening people and you want to arrest just about the whole country because they don't subscribe to your philosophy anymore. These are things that contribute to, and of course, when there is a suspicious activities happening in the electoral process, people could, really say these are not necessarily free and fair. But again, it also depends on the definition of free and fair. What is free and fair? People were able to go and vote, cast their vote, they came back, and then what comes out next is the Electoral Commission announcing who the winner is. And if you are 14 of you and everybody, including people that really are wasting time, expect to win. For you to win an election, you have to invest your time. You have to go out there and tell your story for people to believe you and eventually vote for you. They will not vote for you because they feel sorry for you, or because they think that you are Mr. Nice Guy, or because they think that you are their homeboy. They will vote for you because they believe that the message you're giving is a message of hope, a message of encouragement, not just for the people of today, but for many generations to come. Well, in closing, look, I just want to say that we have tried different leadership. We need to look at what we have seen in the past 54 years, and where things have looked up is when you get a leadership that has got a proven track record of working and delivering results somewhere. And this is how we should be approaching the next election. We should look at leaders that have got a proven record of working and delivering results, not because they're your homeboys, or you feel sorry for them, or whatever. It must be people that have a proven record. We should move beyond the usual. I mean, the politics as usual. What is politics as usual? Politics as usual is these are the only people that can do politics in this country. Try new politics, politics that is not going to appease people, politics that is going to allow for appointments to be done on merit, politics that is going to respect citizens, politics that is going to have leadership that will respect the rule of law. We want leaders that respect rule of law, not leaders that are rulers of the law. We want a new era of leadership. We want a new Malawi that citizens will be genuinely happy, not happy clapping hands for their leader, but because they have enough to be independent. They have sweated for it, and they have seen the benefits of hard work, and that kind of Malawi is possible. we can do it, and the people that are going to do it is you and me. We must leave a better country than we found. We must leave a legacy that others are going to talk about for years to come.